Okay. So yeah, first of all, we connect to the various data sources in the Power BI, and then we do the ETL, that is transform the data as per the requirement. And then we go on to the model view and get the correct relationship between the different tables, and that's what is called as the modeling in Power BI. And after that, we go on to create the calculated columns and measures. And in here, we use a thing called as DAX engine in Power BI. And once that is done, we create our reports and visualizations based on the measures and calculated columns that we created in the Power BI. And ultimately, we publish, share, and collaborate our work by publishing it in Power BI service. So this is the basic workflow that happens. Okay. And yeah, let's have a look into getting the data from different sources into the Power BI. Okay, so let's do that. And yeah, before that, let me also talk about how to install the Power BI in your systems. I hope some of you might have installed Power BI desktop already or not.
Yes, sir, I have
Yes,
installed.
it's been installed.
Yeah. So you can do that in two ways. One is just by going to Microsoft Power BI website, or you have a market thing here, right? In you have Microsoft Store, isn't it? Okay, so you can go to Microsoft Store, and there also you can search for Power BI Desktop, and you can get it installed from here as well. Okay, so if you go and have a look at the Power BI Desktop. Okay, so yeah, Power BI Desktop, which is the app. Okay, so if you click on Get, it will take you till installing the Power BI within your system. Okay, so this is one way to do it, and the steps are very simple. There's nothing like you need to enter the keys or passwords or anything. Okay, because Power BI desktop application is completely free to everyone. Okay, so it's a simple installing steps, just like clicking on next, and until it gets fully installed in your system. So that's about it. Else, you can do one more thing. You can go to Microsoft Power BI website, and from there also you can get it downloaded. Okay, that also is quite simple. So these are the two way you can get Power BI installed in your systems. And yeah, let me first try opening the Power BI now.
Pawan, one question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this Power BI gets updated very quickly, like every month. So how do
Yeah.
we get all the updates the real time?
Yeah, the thing is, in the Power BI website, okay, you will be you will be having the information of what has been updated and what has been not. Okay, so if you visit that, then you will get the account of what new features have been arrived with the new update.
Now,
Right?
how can we get our application updated with those features, new features?
How can you get your version updated? Okay,
Yes.
so whenever any new version gets updated, you will get sign at the right bottom of your Power BI desktop asking you to update. Okay, and if you go on clicking there, it will get updated. Okay.
So will it require a reinstall? Why I'm asking is because I have this on my official machine, so I cannot ask IT to install it every
The
time.
thing is, in that case, what I mean, you're talking about your official system, right?
Yes,
Which
yes,
you have from your company, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So there, yeah, I know that they don't install every month, but
True.
the thing is, every 3 to 4 months you can get it installed at least,
Okay.
because all the updates which come, I mean, those are not the critical updates. Okay,
Okay.
but there will be some critical updates, because there was one instance where one critical update came in April this year. Okay, so what happened is the whole layout has been changed compared to what it used to look like earlier. Okay, so if that kind of thing happens, you will come to know by the Power BI community anyway. But yeah, if that happens, then you can get it updated. And yeah, that's the thing. Okay.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Okay, so once the Power BI desktop is open, okay, so as I said, we can get the data from various sources. Okay, we can get the data from various sources. And before we do so, we will just have a look at the different storage modes. Okay, we'll have a look at different storage modes. So basically, the way to get data into the Power BI are these. The first one is called as import mode. Then there is direct query. Then there is live connection. And then there is also the dual mode or composite mode, or it's also called as hybrid mode. Okay. So let's first talk about the import mode. Okay. Import mode, or this is also called as the direct import mode. In import mode, what happens is that no matter where your backend data sources are stored, you will get that actually into the Power BI. And when I say actually into the Power BI desktop, within this app, it allots some memory to the data that is coming in, and it gets stored within the Power BI desktop itself. Okay, so that's why this is called as import mode. Okay, and until, if let's say you have refreshed the data from the backend, some new records have come. Until and unless you manually refresh the data from the Power BI desktop, the data which is here will be old only. Okay, the new records will not come here. Are you getting the point which I'm trying to say about the import mode? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So in import mode, what happens is that you actually bring the data into the Power BI, you allocate some memory to it, okay, and it gets stored within Power BI, okay. And there's this Vertipack compressor. Now, what this does is the Vertipack compressor is a compressor engine based on which the Power BI works. And this actually compresses the data which comes inside Power BI, okay, and it allocates certain buffer memory to that. Okay, so data which comes inside it gets compressed via Vertipack compressor engine, and it gets stored as a buffer. It takes some buffer memory to get stored inside the Power BI. Okay, now let's talk about these two things. Okay, that is the direct query. Now, direct query, what happens is, let's say you have some of the data sources like SQL. Okay, so what you can do is you can establish the connection between the backend, that is in this case SQL, and Power BI, and you need not bring the data into the Power BI if you're working on direct query. All you need to do is in direct query, what happens? It just establishes the connection from Power BI to the backend. And whenever in the backend, the data gets refreshed, that happens, the same happens in Power BI as well. Because the data is not in Power BI. You just have the connection from Power BI to the backend, that is any data source. And whenever you refresh the data there, it gets refreshed in Power BI as well. Okay, so that's the thing about direct query and import mode, the main difference. Okay, in import mode, the data is inside the Power BI, whereas in direct query, the data stays in the backend. You just establish the connection. Okay, now the third thing, that is live connection. The live connection is completely similar to direct query, except the fact that in live connection, the data is of the cube form. Okay, and the cube form of data comes from the data sources like Azure Analysis Services, or let's say SSAs, that is SQL Server Analysis Services. And the cube form, in the sense, Let me try showing you that the cube form of data, how it looks. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this. Now, this is called as OLAP system. We'll get into detail about OLAP system later, but this is how the cube form of data looks like. Now, let me try just explaining this. Okay. Now, this is a complete data set. Okay. Now, if you look at the y-axis, okay, if you look at the y-axis, we have certain dimensions like accessories, bikes, clothing, components, right? Now, in the z-axis, what you have a timeline which gives you the months from the 2015, right from Jan to May. Okay. And on x-axis, you will be having certain measures. Okay. Measures like the total sales, okay, the total quantity, the total revenue, okay, or let's say the total order returns. Okay. So all these things will be described on x-axis. Okay. So what I mean to say is, if I take hold of any cube here, okay, let's say this cube. So this dimension, which is, its z dimension will represent its timeline, that is which month it belongs to. So for example, let's say this cube I take. Okay. So which timeline it belongs to? Anyone? Yes. Doesn't it belong to 2015 January? It's in the front row, right?
Yes, 2015.
Okay. Yes. And which dimension it is dealing with information? Clothing, right? And let's say here, if we have profit as a measure, then it will give us profit, the information about the profit. So basically, this cube is giving us the information like in 2015 January, with respect to clothing, what was the profit? Okay, so this is how the data in the cube form will be, and this kind of data you will get from the systems like Azure Analysis Services, or let's say SQL Server Analysis Services, that is SSAS. Okay, so that's the only difference when it comes to direct query and live connection. Direct query and live connection are very similar, apart from the fact that in live connection, you have the data in the form of cube models. Okay. Then we have the last one, that is the dual mode, that is also called as composite mode or hybrid mode. Now, what happens here is that some of the tables in composite mode, they are in import mode in Power BI, and some of the tables, they might be in either direct query mode or live connection mode. So if you try implementing both of these together, then you can call it as hybrid mode. Okay, wherein you bring some of the table from import mode and some of the table you bring as direct query or live connection. So this is the basic difference. And if you have a look at these differences in elaborate manner, and I'm saying elaborate manner because this is one of the important questions that gets asked in the interview. That is, they will definitely ask you, what is the difference between the import mode and direct query mode in Power BI? Okay, so the elaborate answer would be this. Okay, so these are the main differences. So first of all, the size of the data set, okay, or size of the data model, or basically the PBIX size. Okay, PBIX size in the sense, if you right click on the PBIX file that you save, and if you have a look at its memory, the maximum memory that is possible in the import mode is 10 GB. And that too, if you have premium license or premium per user license, not in the free license. Okay. Whereas in direct query, there is no limitation. Okay. And the second thing, in import mode, you can import the data from multiple sources. And when I say multiple sources, I mean the things like some of the files you can get it as the Excel files, some of them as CSV flat files, some of them from SQL Server, some of them from Azure Synapse. So all those things. Whereas if you are in direct query mode, all your data has to come from one single source. Okay, so this is one of the primary difference. Then there is one more thing, like the performance. Okay, the performance is very much higher in import mode compared to direct query mode. Okay, and the reason for that, can anyone tell me the reason for this? The performance of the performance of import mode being better than direct query. What can be the reason? Anyone?
In that query, like we'll be hitting the server every time we
Yeah.
execute any query.
So let me give you an example. What happens is, let's say if I open any dashboard, okay, just a second. Okay. Now you saw how much time it took for these visuals to appear, right? I mean, I'm not talking about the start of the Power BI desktop, but once this report was visible, once this page was visible, it did not take much of time for this to appear, isn't it? But if, and yeah, let me tell you that this particular dashboard, I have implemented the import mode, okay? So all these tables which you're seeing here, I have got them into the Power BI, okay? And then I have made this dashboard. But let's say instead of this, you're using the direct query mode. Then the way or the time in which the time that will be taken by these visuals to appear individually in this particular report page will be way more. Okay, so that is one of the biggest disadvantages as far as the direct query is concerned. Its performance will not be great. Okay, and that is the reason import mode is predominantly used. Okay, in spite of having the 10 GB dataset constraint, still import mode is very predominantly used compared to the direct query mode. In fact, Microsoft, they themselves suggest that you can use direct query if the data size is huge, but it is not practical. If you use direct query, your data model will be very slow compared to when you use the import mode. And generally, the business end will not accept that. They would want the visuals to get loaded at max within 10 to maximum 15 seconds, not more than that. Okay. So that's the biggest disadvantage of direct query mode. Okay. Now let's look into some of the other differences. Now, this says whenever you change the data in the backend, okay, backend in the sense, let's say if you have brought the data from some Excel file, or let's say from SQL database, okay, and in the backend, let's say in SQL, some of the new data gets added, some new rows gets added, or some new columns get added into the existing tables, okay. And if you're in import mode, until and unless you hit the refresh button, can you see the refresh button here? It's not highlighted right now. It's kind of deactivated. But until and unless you hit this refresh button, the data which is there in Power BI, it will not be refreshed. Okay. I mean, the changes in the back end will not be reflected in the front end, which is in Power BI. Okay. But here, that will not happen. Whenever you are dealing with direct query, whenever you do any changes in backend, those will be reflected in the front end immediately. You need not hit the refresh button manually. So that's the thing it is talking. Okay. And one of the important, this thing, the feature is this. That is, if you are in import mode, you can schedule 48 refreshes per day maximum, and that too if you are having the premium Power BI license. Okay, that is like every half an hour you can schedule one refresh. Okay, and if let's say you are in direct query mode, you can schedule the refresh as often as 15 minutes. Okay, once in every 15 minutes you can do. Okay, and there are also these things like the import mode. It supports all type of transformations, that is all type of ETLs that are available in Power BI. Whereas if you are in direct query mode, not all the transformations will be supported. So again, this again is one of the drawbacks as far as the direct query mode is concerned. And the important drawback, however, is this. That is, the import mode, it supports all the DAX functions, whereas the complex usage of complex DAX functions as far as direct query mode is concerned is limited. And you cannot use the time intelligence functions, which acts as a biggest blocker for usage of direct query mode. Okay, and yeah, the calculated tables, they're available in import mode, but they are not supported as far as direct query mode. And I'll tell you what these are when we actually go into them. Okay, because these calculated columns, calculated tables, these are all part of the DAX functions, and that comes there. Okay, and the quick insights feature, there is a quick insight feature in Power BI. It is available in import mode, but not available in the direct query. Okay, so these are the various differences. Okay, and in the interview, it's okay if you just tell them 3 to 4 differences. Okay, but the main differences should be the way in which the both behave in the sense, in import mode, the data is actually into the Power BI, whereas in direct query, the data is just established connection with. Okay, that's the main difference. Then you can go on telling these differences. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay.
On one question.
Yes, please.
In that query, like if we are connected with SQL Server and if we remove or drop any rows or columns, will that have an impact on the source data also?
No, whatever happens in Power BI, that does not impact the source. Okay.
Even in the direct query mode.
Even in the direct query mode, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And will you be sharing these notes with us?
Yeah, this I'll be sharing for sure. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
No problems. And yeah, now let's try getting our hands dirty into the Power BI, and let's try getting the data actually from the different sources. And let me first tell you that, let's say if you are getting the data from some of the sources like SQL Server or SQL Server or MySQL, then those should be in running condition, okay, in your system. Else you'll not be able to do so. Your SQL Server should be running, or if you're trying to get the data from SQL Server or be it MySQL, those servers should be in running condition. Else you will not be able to get the data. As simple as that. Okay. Fine. So what we'll do is we'll try to get the data from some of the different sources. That is these, for example. Okay. So let's start doing that. Okay. So first of all, what I'll do, I'll try connecting with the SQL Server. Okay. So the way to go is I need to click on Get Data, and see some of the options you'll be having here itself. But if you find that the one which you are looking for is not enlisted here, you can certainly go for more. There also it will be enlisted. Now the SQL Server is appearing here as well. So I can just click on it, or if you can click on more, you'll be taken to all the data sources that are available. And again, here as well, you can see the SQL Server database. So you can just click on it, okay, and you can connect with it. Okay, and now the first thing it will ask you is to enter the server name and the database name also you can enter, but that is optional. Okay, now let me show you gradually step by step. Okay, so now in my case, that is in my SQL server, the database name is this thing. Can you see this? Visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the database, I mean the server name. So I have stored the server name in my OneNote. So I'll just copy that. Okay, Control C and Control V. And if I do that, I mean, if I don't, let's say, enter the database name, okay? And here you can see I have two options. One is import mode, one is direct query mode. I can choose anything, okay? And one more thing to be noted, the import mode, that is the direct query mode, will be available only for the data sources like the databases, okay? Not for Excel files. Understanding the concept? For CSV or flat files, you will not be having the option to connect with direct query. Hope that is clear.
Yes, Pawan, because they are already on that machine.
Yes, okay. Now I'll click on OK. And it'll take some time. Now you see all the databases which are present in my SQL server have been loaded here, and I can choose between them. Now there is AdventureWorks 2019, AdventureWorks 2017. There's one retail database. There's one sample DB. Okay, so what you can do is you can go to this particular database, and therein you can find various tables here. Okay, there might be tables, or sometimes there might be views which are created by SQL developers. Okay, so let's say I want to get any table in here. So I can simply go to this and choose a particular table. Let's say DIM product. Okay. If I do that, what will happen? This table, it will give me the preview of that particular table, and I can either choose to transform data or load the data directly. Now, if I choose to transform the data, it will take me to Power Query editor. Okay, but right now I'm not interested in that. I'll deal with Power Query editor later. Right now I'm just showing how to get the data from different sources. So let's just directly load it. Okay. And when that happens, now you see the DIM product has been loaded into the Power BI desktop, and it's loaded in import mode. Okay, and if you look at this, you can have a look at the various columns and the respective records, that is rows. Okay, so this is how you can get from SQL Server. Now I'll also show you a bit of thing. You can write the SQL queries while bringing the data as well. Let me show you how. Okay, for example, in first of all, let me try executing this query. This comes from I think AdventureWorks 2019. Okay, this is SQL Server, and if I execute this query, I'll basically get this main table. Okay, that is this is sales order detail table, which is from the sales database. Okay, and right now if you have a look at this, it has all the data. Okay, basically top 1,000 rows from all the columns. Now here, if let's say I want the orders, only those orders whose quantity is greater than 2, then I can execute this SQL query. I hope some of you are having the knowledge of SQL, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Now the thing is, this SQL query, now what I've done here, I've only taken the orders whose order quantities are greater than 2. So it'll be minimum 3. Evident right here. Understood? Okay. Now similar thing, I can do in Power BI as well while importing the data. Let me show you how to do that. Okay. So first of all, I'll go here again. I'll go to get data, and again I'll go to SQL Server. And now what I'll do, I'll again have to enter the server name. That is this. So and the database name I'll have to mention because I'm going to write the query on that. Okay. So the database name is AdventureWorks 2019. So I'll enter that. And you will be having this advanced option. Okay. That is this to write the SQL statement. So what was that? The SQL statement was this. Where is it? Yeah, this one. Okay. Select star from sales order detail where order quantity is greater than 2. Okay. So you can select this. You can copy it from here, or you can write there as well. Both ways it will work. Okay. So if I control V it here, then what will happen? This, while importing itself, this query gets executed and it will bring the order, it will bring the order details wherein quantity is greater than 2. Let us see. Okay. Now, can you see this? It's quite evident, right? The orders which have been brought in here, their quantity is greater than 2. I hope everyone is understanding this.
Yes, Paul.
Yes,
Paul.
Yeah. So if you have a look at this, just let's try to validate this, whether the query has worked correctly or not. If you go here and have a look at values, so nothing is less than 3 here. Okay. So yeah. So that's the thing. The query has been executed perfectly. Okay. Now let's bring in data by connecting to, let's say, one more source. That is the MySQL Workbench. Okay. So here as well, you need to keep this MySQL server in running condition, and you need to have the login details to your MySQL Workbench. Okay. So let's see how that happens. Okay. So first of all, yeah. I'll just have it copied so I can use this statement later. So what I'll do is I'll store it here instead. Not a problem. Now, if let's say I close this, like this, sorry. So this thing which you're seeing here, 127.0.0, this is your as a SQL, not SQL, sorry, MySQL server. Okay. So let's see how it happens. And this root which you're seeing here, that is the username, and your system password will be the password for that. Okay. So let me show you how to get connected with MySQL. So again, you need to go to get data, and here MySQL is not enlisted. So you need to go to more. And in more, what you can do is, if you find it here, well and fine. But if you don't, then you can simply go on searching that MySQL. Okay. So now you have the access to that. You just click on that and you click on connect. Okay. And here what you can do is you can write the server name. Now what's the server name? As I said, the server name is this 127.0.0.13306. Okay. So I'll use that. Control C it and Control V it here. And the database name, I am interested in getting this database. That is, this is the sales database. Okay, I stored it as sales database, so I'll just mention its name. And let's try connecting it first. Okay, now can you see we have the access to all the tables which come from the sales database. Okay, you can get all the data, or you can again write the SQL query here as well. Okay, so it's very simple. Again, let me try doing that. My SQL. Then I need to enter the this thing. Server name, then database. And if you go to advanced options, you will be having this thing to write the query. Okay, so I have copied my query here. That is, I want all the details from sales transactions where the transaction quantity or sales quantity is greater than 10, and not just that, the currency type is INR. Okay, so let's try executing this query. Okay, and let's see if we are able to do that from the Power BI end itself. Okay, so Control V, and if I do that, it should work and give me the required data. So let's see what was the thing. So the transaction quantity was greater than 10, and the currency was INR. Let's see if it is the case. So quantity certainly looks to be greater than 10, right? And the currency also is fixed at INR. Everyone's getting it, people?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you can certainly go on to validate here. So if you look at the sales quantity, it is greater than 10. And the currency, if you have a look at, it is set to INR. So the data has come inside the Power BI in the way we want it. Okay, so just like the query we wanted it to happen. Okay, so that's the thing. So this is the MySQL. Then let's also deal with say, for example, there is also SharePoint folders is what we can connect to, but SharePoint, I don't have the, the license to the SharePoint folder, so I cannot use it. But I'll just tell you what needs to be done or how to get the data from the SharePoint. So you need to go to get data again, and in the SharePoint folder, you can, you need to click on SharePoint folder. Okay, so it's already there, right? So if you do that, and if you click on connect, and all you need to do is just paste the folder URL. Understanding this? If you paste the SharePoint folder URL, then you will be having the access to the tables or data sources that are there from SharePoint folder. Hope this is clear, people.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I'll be showing one more that there is a thing called as Access database. Okay. So
just one question.
yeah, please.
This you were showing that database details, right? All the tables, everything. So you'll be providing those scripts?
Yeah, I will be sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I will be providing the data. I mean, it's already there. I have done this here. Different data sources. I'll be providing you these data sources. All thing you need to do is you need to have at least the SQL server running in your system so that you can do it, right?
Yeah, it's running. You will be giving database script, right? Not the CSV file or the Excel file.
Yeah, I'll be giving you the this database only. Okay, there is Northwind database, which is Microsoft Access database. But I hope if you have a SQL Server database, you might be having AdventureWorks or AdventureWorks 14 in that or not.
Currently it's not there, I guess.
Okay, then I'll provide that as well. Okay, I'll give you AdventureWorks 14, and I'll provide you some sample database.
You will be sharing in some drive.
I'll be. The thing is, there is this Graphy thing. There is a portal called as Graphy. I think it's. You have been introduced to that yet?
No.
The thing is, after this class, from next class on, or maybe from the class after that, we'll be starting the class in Graphy. Okay, there's a platform called as Graphy, and let me show you how it actually looks like. It looks like this. Okay, and the thing is, in Graphy portal, you will be having a thing called as course builder. And after each class, can you see I have uploaded the data sets here, right?
Yeah.
So if you click on that, you will be, I have mentioned what all topics have been covered in each class, and what all data sets are in use. And I have also attached the Power BI file as well that's used in the class. Okay. So all those things are there. So please, right now, don't worry about that. But yeah, I'll share everything. Okay.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Fine. So this is about what was that? This SharePoint folder. Okay. And yeah, now let me just talk about the Access database. There's also database from Microsoft themselves, one more, which is called as Access database. And if I have a look at that, if you can see the here, that is its Access database. And if you try to connect here the thing is you need not enter any server details or anything. The only thing that you need to do is you need to go to the file, that Access database file where it is stored. And if you go to this, right now I have the Northwind Access database. And if I try opening that, now what will happen is I'll be taken to a view where I have the access to all the tables which are coming from that particular Access database. Okay, so let me get something like orders. Okay, yeah, if I try loading it here, even that will be loaded in this. Okay, and yeah, and not just this. Let's say if there are any websites which from which we can download the data without any access problems. If let's say the table access is free from that website, you can then get the data from website as well. So let me try showing that to you. Let me check if this particular website actually it is free in the sense you can get the tables from that. Okay, so the way to go is, again, you need to go to get data, and you need to click on the web, and you need to click on the URL. You need to paste the URL, and once you do that, you'll be taken to a view where you can select the tables which are coming from that website and get that into the Power BI as well. It's taking certain time because
when we are connected to this web, is it import or direct query?
Import only.
Import.
Yeah.
Where do we get that option of choosing that direct query or more?
Direct query only, as I said, in some sources like SQL database, Azure, okay, Azure Synapse Data Lake, things like that. Okay, not everything. For everything, you will not be having the option to get it in direct query. Okay, and believe me, in long run, you will not be. If you are dealing with any project, live project, you will not be wanting to use the direct query method at all. Okay. Although in the interviews, they will ask you the question, have you used direct query? You can simply say you have used, but you actual use case scenario, if you use the direct query, your project will become very slow. That's the thing I have experienced myself. Okay. So if I get this, so you can choose the table from that website as well. Okay. So this is the way to connect to different data sources. Okay. And yeah, let's try to bring something as the CSV of flat files as well. Okay. So here what I'll do, I'll go to get data again. I'll go to, let's say, the text or CSV files. Now the CSV files are comma separated values. Okay. So orders.csv, I'll try to get it. It's very simple. Just click on the path where your CSV file is stored and you just click on open. Okay. So that CSV file will be opened. Okay. And you will be asked whether you want to load it or transform it. Right now, I just want to load it like this. Okay. And Yeah. So this is, yeah, it contains certain errors, but that we can sort it while dealing with Power Query editor, not right now. Okay. So that's fine. This is the way to load the CSV file. Okay. That is order CSV. And then let's say if we want something from the Excel file, simple Excel file. So you can directly click on Excel workbook here, or you can do that also from here. Okay. And then again, it'll ask you where have you stored your Excel file. So you need to do a path to that. So if I do that, you will be taken to a view where you can choose the number of sheets from your Excel workbook like this. Okay. So let me choose all the sheets, and let me not choose this because there's already orders and it will create this thing. We'll first have to rename this. So first I'll load this. And this is the way to get the data from different sources into the Power BI. And for some of the options, some of the sources, you have the option to bring it in direct query mode. Hope this is understood by everyone.
Yes, Paul.
Okay. And now let me show you by bringing the data from direct query mode. Okay. So first of all, let me close this. And now what I'll do is I'll create the Power BI connection again. Let me show you one of the prime differences between direct query and the import mode. Okay, because if someone asks you, that is the main thing that you got to know. Okay, so let's try getting something from direct query mode. Okay, so get data, and again I'll go to SQL Server because SQL Server is supported with the direct query. Okay. So once I do that, I need to enter my server name. That is SQL Server is this. And the database also I'll mention. It's AdventureWorks 2019. And yeah. And here I'll choose the direct query. Okay. And if I do that, let me get one of the tables. Okay, let's sales order details. But that is what is it? Sales order detail. This is what I'll get, and I'll directly try loading this. Now this table has appeared here. Now, can any one of you tell me one of the differences that you're seeing in this file and the previous one where we established the import mode? Anyone?
We saw tables on the left side.
Yeah, the thing is on the left, this thing, you saw a data view, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That data view is not there now. Can you see this?
Yeah, data is not.
So the thing is, in direct query mode, there'll be only report view and model view. Okay, the table view or data view will not be there. That is one of the important things. Okay, in direct query mode. Whereas in the import mode, you can have a look at tables yourself in Power BI. Same you cannot do when you are dealing with direct query mode. Okay, so this is one of the important differences, people. Okay, all of you understood this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Paul.
And yeah, this is one of the biggest limitation as far as the direct query mode is concerned, because when dealing with this, most of the transformations that you can do in Power BI, that those get limited. The DAX functions that you can use, they get limited. And the thing is, most of the analysis has to come from the back end. Okay, like let's say if you are using SQL Server, you have to do most of the calculated columns and measures in the backend in SQL Server itself, and Power BI can simply be used as a reporting tool when you're using direct query. But even if you are able to do that, your data, I mean, your visuals will be very slow depending upon the status or running status of your SQL Server. If your SQL Server becomes down, it means your Power BI also becomes down. Okay, whereas in import mode, that's not the case, because you bring in data actually into the Power BI in import mode. So that's the primary difference, people. Okay, so yeah, so this is the way
One
to,
question.
yes, please.
Yeah, if you talk about domains like retail or banking, where it's transactional data and data size would be like billions of records, and it could go more than 10 GB usually. So, and if we are not able to use import mode and direct query is slow, how do you feel like these industry will be able to adopt to Power BI?
Yeah, the thing is, see, currently I'm also working on a project which deals with the financial details. Okay.
Okay.
And recently what has happened is in Power BI premium license, they have kept an option to make a large data set. Now, when I say large data set, you can exceed the 10 GB limitation. Okay. So data set can become more than 10 GB.
Okay.
And 10 GB actually, if you have a look at it, 10 GB is not a small thing. What I mean is, if your data is of, let's say, size 100, if your number of rows which you're talking about is of size, let's say 100 million or so, even then it will hardly, and let's say there are some 20 plus tables in your model. Okay, even then it will not become 10 GB. Are you getting the point?
Okay, got it.
Okay, so in most of the cases we can use the import mode. Okay, so, and one thing is, whenever your data set or data size, it becomes like, let's say 2 GB or 3 GB. Okay, so the thing is, you will be in companies, you will be given access to a thing called as RDP, or VM also is what they call it. So remote desktop, or it's also called as the virtual machine. Okay, and that virtual machine on which you will be working on, it will be a very kind of a high-end machine. And high-end means it will be having a RAM of, let's say, the size 64 GB, or sometimes even 124 GB. Okay, and it's I mean, memory will be more, and it will be having some high-speed processor. Okay, so that you can open the files of that size in that virtual machine. Because in your system, if you try to open any Power BI file whose memory is more than 1.5 or 2 GB, it will not open. It will give you memory error. Okay, so that's one of the points that is to be noted. Hope everyone understood this.
Okay, sure.
Okay, fine. So this is the way to bring the data from various sources into the Power BI. Okay, and this is one of the important interview questions as well. They will ask you what all sources that you have worked on. So generally speaking, the different sources that people work on as a BI developer is there is Azure Synapse, or the data lake. Okay, and in Synapse data lake, the Synapse data lake also works actually based on the query language itself, that is SQL Server. Okay, the same query language it also works on. So you can say that you have gotten the data from, let's say, SQL Server, MySQL, okay, or you have also worked on Excel sheets, CSV flat files, okay, you use SharePoint folders, all you can definitely tell about that, okay, because this is one of the important interview questions, and they just want to know what all data sources you have worked on. Okay, so that's the important thing. And also, this is also very important interview question, that is, what's the difference between the import mode and direct query mode. Okay, so this is about this. And yeah, if there are no further doubts, then I would like to stop sharing my screen. Any doubts? What has been
So
covered?
Pawan, does Snowflake support direct query mode?
Snowflake, I have not checked it, but let me check once. It's okay. So still now, I have not used Snowflake, but
Yeah, it supports direct query mode, but I don't think it will generate a native query for it.
Yeah, if it doesn't generate the native query, then that also is a problem, right? Because you cannot implement the incremental refresh. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Let's check. Because still I have not worked on the Snowflake, but there are some companies which use Snowflake on regular basis.
Yeah, actually, I had used in my project.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, actually it supports.
yeah.
It supports direct query mode.
Hmm.
Only thing is that I observed is that it doesn't support native query. That it will not be able to do some kind of performance
Yeah.
tuning and all of that.
Yes, yes. Performance, I mean, importantly, yeah, performance will be slow. And more important than that, you cannot establish, I mean, you cannot establish things like incremental refresh if there is no native query support.
Yeah, okay. So only the database which supports native query is currently MS SQL Server or any other database?
I think currently it is SQL Server as well as the data lakes which Microsoft supports, like let's say the Synapse Lake. Okay, and also there is there is this thing called as Denodo as well. Okay, I'm not completely sure about that, but Denodo is one of the data source, and it's not actually a data source. It acts as a virtual layer between the data source and the Power BI desktop. So I
Okay.
think native query is supported in that as well. Yes.
Okay, okay then. Thank you. So you'll be talking about more about native query, right? Later on?
Yeah, native query and basically query folding I'll be talking about. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay then.
And how to make the native query happen. Okay, I
Okay.
mean, how to not avoid native query. I'll also
Okay.
talk about all those things. Yeah.
Okay, okay then.
Fine. Any further doubts, people?
No, Pawan, we're good. And you'll be providing today those details, right? To in order to install those databases, everything, keep it ready for tomorrow's session.
See, I'll be providing you the databases. Okay, but how to get those databases into your SQL or into your MySQL, you have to do it by yourself.
Huh,
Okay.
that we will take care. If you could just provide the script, that's enough.
Yeah, I'll be providing you the databases. Actually, these are available in internet as well, but I'll provide that to you nonetheless. Okay, the
Okay.
advanced books and the data sources which I used to connect today, I'll definitely provide it. Okay, I'll
Okay.
share. I think the RAR file in the group. Okay.
Oh, okay,
Make
sure,
you
sure.
get it downloaded from there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Fine then. Okay. Fine. Thank you all. We'll meet again in tomorrow's class. But yeah, first let me stop the this thing recording.
Okay.
Else sometimes it gets deleted. Yeah. So stop the recording.